Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Junk Food and You. This is the podcast where I just sort of sometimes interview people, just talk about regular things, talk about sort of things on my mind about candy. And today we're going to talk about, so actually I've got a bag of chips here. We're going to talk about the word regular, or plain, or original. It's something about candy that's kind of weird. Like there's a lot of things that are original flavored, regular flavored, or plain flavored, but we don't really think about it. Like this bag of chips is a great example. This is regular flavored, but what is it? It's got salt. It's got sort of an oily flavor. It tastes like potatoes. What does regular taste like? And the thing is, regular tastes like different things depending. You can get it like different things. Like regular Skittles are like cherry, lime, or apple, depending on who you are. Grape. Regular M&Ms are chocolate flavored. So if you had like a bag of chips that was chocolate flavored, it wouldn't be regular. It would be chocolate flavored. But if you have an M&M that's regular flavored, that's chocolate flavored, it's just regular. It's kind of a weird thing. It's like there's a little bit of history, I think, behind some of these regular flavors. Like with chips, I assume regular means that this is probably the original flavor that chips came in, which is likely true, according to the history, which is a little bit muddled with potato chips. Nobody's 100% sure. There's some ideas of where potato chips came from, but nobody's 100% sure. But it is very likely in almost all of the stories, the first flavor of potato chip was just salt and sort of a fried potato. So there was no ketchup or vinegar or anything like that. So that's sort of, I think that's where regular things come in a lot of the times. The other one is like bubble gum. You sort of get that pink sort of, I always associate it with Bazooka Joe or Double Bubble. And that likely, the pink color even, was notionally, I've heard stories that it would just happen to be the color of dye that they had when the gentleman who worked for the gum, the gum factory sort of came up with the idea of bubble gum. So bubble gum, and same with the flavor, it's just sort of what was around. And it's the first one, and it's kind of got like a minty fruity flavor, but that's still considered regular gum. Like gum has a regular flavor. Cotton candy is a really interesting one for me too, because cotton candy, there's a flavor of cotton candy that's regular, but really it's kind of fruity. It's kind of burnt sugary. So it's like, what flavor is regular cotton candy? It's cotton candy flavored, but like cotton candy is just sort of a way of presenting something. And it's the same with potato chips. I mean, potato chips are potatoes that are fried, but the regular flavor is just salt. So nobody ever calls it salt. I mean, a few people do call it salt, particularly when they go with fancy salts. So that's another thing too, is like if Ruffles had a pink salt version, it would be called the pink salt, even though it would sort of just be salt anyway. And so it's not regular because it's a different kind of salt. So it's like white salt is sort of the regular. Doritos is an interesting one because they don't really have a regular flavor, but I'd probably say that their nacho cheese is the regular flavor. Like people don't really call the cheese flavored Doritos, they don't give them a flavor, but Cool Ranch is a flavor. There's so many things like that. And I find it so interesting that like what we call regular, again, I think a lot of it is historical based on like what was the first one. Even Skittles, like I was talking about Skittles, how their regular flavors are this like mass of different fruit flavors. Same with Lifesavers. Like when you think of Lifesavers regular, you think of the fruity ones. They don't actually label it that, but Skittles does label theirs like original flavored or original mix or something like that. So like there are companies that actually label their thing original, regular, and one of the big ones for me too, when I think about it, is ice cream. Like if you think of regular flavored ice cream, you're probably thinking of vanilla, particularly when you're dealing with soft serve. So chocolate is a different flavor, but like why isn't vanilla a flavor? Like vanilla gets so often, like when you think of plain flavored, another word to describe regular or original is plain. When you think of plain ice cream, if you were to sort of define plain ice cream, you probably pull out a thing of like vanilla ice cream. But vanilla is like such a unique flavor. In fact, I've argued that vanilla is probably one of the most important flavors in all of candy, maybe even more important than chocolate, in that there's a vanilla in so much of the food we eat because it's sort of a flavor enhancer, which then brings you back to salt, because salt is also a flavor enhancer, but yet this is the flavor of this potato chips, and so you call it regular. So that's another way to sort of, you might be able to look at like plain things, is that it's a flavor that enhances other flavors quite well. So you kind of, but it still has a flavor of its own. It's really complicated. Like, I find it really weird that anything, any candy, any sweet, any treat can be called regular. Original I can understand a little bit better, because that's assuming that the first time that you made this treat, or anybody made this treat, this was the flavor that it was, and then it sort of got expanded. This is one of those weird arguments that I don't think, I mean, comment below if you can tell me if you can sort of define what is regular or sort of original. I mean, original, maybe not plain. What is a plain flavored thing? Because I argue that it doesn't really exist. And it's sort of like the argument I had with ingredients, which is where I don't know what an ingredient is, because you can get a cake mix that says add Nutella or something, like, this cake only has 3 ingredients and Nutella is one of the ingredients. Like, Nutella is a bunch of other ingredients, like there's cocoa, there's hazelnut, there's coconut, there's coconut butter, there's all kinds of sugar. So like, regular is sort of this other weird contemplative thing that I have about ingredients. I don't understand what flavor regular is, and I don't see why candy companies can still do that, because it feels like it's something that should be gone. Like, these should be salted, plain salted chips. Like, and the other weird thing, again, when you get with chips, is then there's these new sort of less salt versions that are like lightly salted, but if salt is still a thing, then it's like regular, but it's like less than regular because it has less salt. Is that fair? I mean, this is something that's been like going around my mind. What I've explained to you makes no sense, because I don't think the idea of regular, plain, or any of those things makes any sense. It's weird. It's a weird thing to think about, and it blows my mind. And every time I see, regular or plain, or somebody says, oh, these are just regular flavored or just plain flavored, I can't quite figure out, and even like with a Kit Kat bar, is like the regular just Kit Kat bar, that's a milk chocolate Kit Kat bar, because they offer them in dark chocolate and orange and banana and all bunch of flavors. So is that just, but a lot of people say that's like the plain Kit Kat bar, or, there's all kinds of weird things like that where you sort of think of, like, I guess when you get to more complicated candy bars, like a Butterfinger or an O. Henry bar, I guess it's the original one. That's not the plain or the regular. It's such a weird playing with words when it comes to flavors. There's so many options out there. I like it. I think it's kind of interesting, but it's also really, really confusing. So, well, thanks for watching this episode of Junk Food and You, where I talked about regular, plain, the words that we use to describe these sort of basic things. As always, you can follow me on Twitter @CandyCritic, or go to candycritic.org and find links to all of my other social media, including Instagram and Tumblr and all that kind of Facebook and that kind of fun stuff. You could also go to candycritic.org, or no, to go to patreon.com/candycritic, and there you can join my Patreon page, and you can get all kinds of bonus content, get these videos a week in advance, get bonus pictures, weekend videos, access to my books, which you can buy separately as well. My 2 books, you can go to candycritic.org. One of them is called Snack Facts, which is a comic book about the history of candy, which I talk a little bit about, sort of the origins of candies, and that's sort of where the original flavors came from. But you can also get my other book, Treats and Beasts, which is an alphabet book, all about the beasts and the treats they love. So make sure to check that out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.